The Haunted Forest, a terrifying fairy tale. Chapter 1, The Eerie Forest. The forest seems to have a life of its own, with branches twisting and reaching out like gnarled fingers, and roots that seem to form intricate patterns in the earth. The air is thick with the scent of pine needles and damp earth, and the only sounds are the soft rustling of leaves and the occasional caw of a crow. As the children take their first tentative steps into the forest, they feel a sense of anticipation and excitement, wondering what wonders or terrors await them in this enchanted realm. The forest seems to grow darker and more foreboding the deeper they venture, and the children begin to feel a creeping sense of unease and fear, as though they are being watched by unseen eyes. Suddenly, a branch snaps loudly in the distance, and the children freeze, their hearts pounding with fear. They can't see anything through the dense foliage, but they can sense that something is out there, lurking in the shadows. Chapter 2, The Abandoned Cottage. The forest seems to take on an otherworldly quality as the children venture further in, with twisted trees and peculiar rock formations that seem almost alive. The group of children is led by a brave and determined young girl who has a reputation for being fearless and adventurous. As they explore deeper into the forest, the group discovers strange markings etched into the bark of trees, as though someone or something has been trying to communicate with them. The forest seems to shift and change around them, as though the landscape is alive and shifting with each step they take. The group becomes increasingly lost and disoriented, unsure of which way to turn or how to find their way back home. As the group of children venture deeper into the forest, they begin to realize that they are lost. They try retracing their steps, but the forest seems to have shifted and changed around them, making it impossible to find their way back. As the hours pass, they grow more and more anxious, and the brave young girl who is leading them begins to doubt her ability to keep them safe. Suddenly, they hear strange whispers and rustling in the bushes, and they realize that they are not alone in the forest. They huddle together, hoping that whatever is out there won't find them. But as the night wears on, their fears begin to become a reality, and they realize that they may never make it out of the forest alive. Chapter 3, The Mysterious Guest. The children's fear and anxiety increases as they encounter a strange, shadowy figure lurking in the woods. The stranger seems to be watching them, moving closer and closer with each passing moment. The stranger's appearance is unnerving and mysterious, with dark robes and a hood that obscures their face. The stranger seems to possess otherworldly powers, moving in ways that seem impossible and disappearing into thin air when the children try to confront them. The stranger leaves cryptic messages and warnings for the children, which only serve to heighten their fear and confusion. As the children huddle together in fear, they notice a shadowy figure moving through the woods towards them. They can't make out much about the stranger, but they sense that they are not human. The stranger seems to be toying with them, moving in ways that seem impossible and leaving cryptic messages that only deepen their sense of terror. The stranger seems to be guiding them deeper into the forest, leading them to an eerie cottage that seems to be the stranger's lair. The children try to confront the stranger, but they quickly realize that they are no match for their otherworldly powers. As the night wears on, the children begin to fear that they may never escape the sinister stranger's grasp. Chapter 4, The Terrifying Twists. The cottage seems to be straight out of a fairy tale, with crooked walls, overgrown vines, and a thatched roof that looks like it's about to collapse. The air around the cottage is thick with a sense of foreboding, and the children can't shake the feeling that they are being watched. The interior of the cottage is dark and musty, with strange symbols etched into the walls and floors. As the children explore the cottage, they realize that it is filled with mysterious and ancient artifacts that seem to have been collected from all over the world. The cottage seems to be alive with a malevolent energy, and the children feel like they are walking on thin ice as they explore further. The children find themselves drawn to an eerie cottage that seems to have been abandoned for centuries. As they approach, they can feel the hairs on the back of their necks stand up, and they realize that they are not alone. Inside, the cottage is dark and musty, with strange symbols etched into the walls and floors. As they explore the rooms, the children realize that the cottage is filled with mysterious and ancient artifacts that seem to be from all over the world. But as they delve deeper into the cottage, they begin to sense that something malevolent is watching them. They hear strange whispers and creaking sounds coming from the walls, and they realize that they are in grave danger. As they try to flee the cottage, they realize that the door is stuck shut, trapping them inside with whatever evil force is lurking within. Chapter 5: The Final Confrontation. The children find themselves facing off against the source of the evil that has been haunting them throughout their journey. The source of the evil is revealed to be a powerful sorceress who has been using the forest to lure children into her lair for centuries. The sorceress is powerful and malevolent, with a twisted sense of humor and a penchant for tormenting her victims. The children must use their wits and their courage to outsmart the sorceress and find a way to escape her grasp. The final confrontation takes place in a dark and foreboding chamber deep within the cottage, where the sorceress has been waiting for the children to arrive. As the children try to escape the eerie cottage, they realize that they are facing off against a powerful sorceress who has been using the forest to lure children into her grasp for centuries. The sorceress is malevolent and powerful, with a twisted sense of humor and a desire to torment her victims. The children must use all of their wits and courage to outsmart the sorceress and find a way to escape her grasp. The final confrontation takes place in a dark and foreboding chamber deep within the cottage, where the sorceress has been waiting for the children to arrive. The sorceress taunts the children, using her dark powers to conjure up terrifying visions and illusions to try and break their spirits. But the children refuse to give up, and they band together to launch a final attack against the sorceress. With a burst of bravery and determination, they manage to defeat the sorceress and escape the cottage, finally finding their way back home to safety. Chapter 6: The Aftermath. The children struggle to come to terms with the trauma they have experienced, and they must find a way to heal and move on from their harrowing journey. The experience has changed them in profound ways, and they realize that they can never go back to the way things were before. The children find solace in each other, and they come to rely on their friendship and support as they try to make sense of what has happened to them. The children begin to notice strange things happening around them, and they realize that the sorceress may not be as defeated as they had thought. The final chapter leaves the viewer with a sense of unease and uncertainty, as the children come to realize that the world is a much darker and more dangerous place than they had ever imagined. As the children return home after their harrowing journey, they struggle to come to terms with the trauma they have experienced. They find it hard to talk about their experiences with anyone, and they feel like they are carrying a heavy burden that no one else can understand. Over time, they begin to realize that the experience has changed them in profound ways, and they can never go back to the way things were before. They find solace in each other, and they come to rely on their friendship and support as they try to make sense of what has happened to them. But as they begin to notice strange things happening around them, they realize that the sorceress may not be as defeated as they had thought. The final chapter leaves the viewer with a sense of unease and uncertainty, as the children come to realize that the world is a much darker and more dangerous place than they had ever imagined, and they must always be on guard against the forces of evil.